Howdy folks, how we all doing? I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. I hope you're able to find the love and witness the blessings that are present in life in these difficult times. It's hard, my friends, I know that, but we're all in this together. So I'm offering these devotions as a little bit of hope, doing what I can, playing my role, being a part of the solution. These devotions are offered as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit and for the soul. And today's little reflection is not to worry, but how? But how indeed? So I invite us to still ourselves. Let's invite a loving presence to be here amongst us and to awaken from deep within us. I have lit the flame of freedom in the cup of belonging, acceptance, and love. We join together in our physical separation, but united in our devotion to life and to love. Help us to sing for joy like the birds each morning sing their faith in being alive and being here. May we know the deep connections that sustain us, the roots that hold us close and nurture us beneath the surfaces of our lives. May we be unafraid to explore the depths of being, the many layers of life. May we remember that we are deeply connected in heart, mind, spirit and in soul. May we be open to all that this day brings, to all that life offers to us, and may we offer our all to life. May we become a vessel for love this day and in all the days to come. Amen. Now I'm going to begin today's devotion with a wonderful poem by the wonderful poet, recently deceased just over a year ago now, Mary Oliver. And the poem is I Worried. So, I Worried by Mary Oliver. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and I gave it up. And I took my old body and I went out into the morning and sang. Mary Oliver had such a beautiful and yet practical way of speaking to the heart of the matter. I love her simple, practical theology, if you like. She was a gifted blessing. She's left a legacy of love, but she's greatly missed. But having said all that lovely wisdom, there is something I must confess. So another thing. Something I must admit to. I'm not sure how to tell you this, but I'm worried. I am worried about many things, the usual things. I'm worried that the world we live in, about that and how we treat it and how we treat one another. I'm worried about the people I love. I'm worried about Poppy's creaking hindquarters. She's getting on a bit now. I worry about the new little dog who's ill right now, actually. I think she'll be all right. I worry about my ability to minister to the people I serve, particularly at this time of physical separation. I'm worried about the state of the world, the toll of the coronavirus, the loss of life, the people I love, the people I care for and serve. I worry for them all. I am particularly worried about the situation we find ourselves in. What is going to happen to so many people? The people I love and the people I don't know. So many people. You know, I could destroy my life with worry. Something else to worry about. I read an article a while ago that suggested that walking slowly is a sign of ageing fast. That's what the headline said anyway. That walking at a plodding pace at 45 may be a warning sign of dementia and early death. The study by Duke University found that people who walk at a slower pace are more likely to look older too. It suggested that tests carried out at this age and as young as 3 years old could suggest who amongst us were at higher risk of accelerated brain ageing and other diseases, and that as a result treatment could be given earlier to treat such things. So that's a bit of good news there, I suppose, if it's a sign. So I'm a little worried. You know, I've been a slow walker all my life. In fact, I was a very, very late walker as a child. My mum loves to remind me that I could talk long before I could walk. You could hold a conversation with me before I could walk across the room. There's two reasons for that. I was an earlier developer in this area and a late developer in this area. I was born with a birth defect that caused my late development and other physical problems I've had all my life. And that's why I've always been a plodder. I'm not someone who dashes around from one place to the next. And by the way, it's not only walking that I was a late developer in. I've been a late developer all my life in every sense going. I don't rush into anything. I plod. I'm a plodder. I get a lot done, but I don't rush around. But I get a lot done. I'm a stick-to-itiveness. I have stick-to-itiveness too. Now, if truth be told, I've been a bit naughty here. I'm not really worried. Well, not about my slow walking at least. Not that I'm dismissing the research, it's just that I know I look after myself fairly well these days. So I'm not going to live in fear of brain degeneration just because of my stiff gait. I'm also aware that you have to be careful with regard to such research. Every week we hear of one item or of research or another suggesting that something or other will kill us, and quickly. I saw some research a few years ago that the Daily Mail had basically said that basically everything in life is bad for you, will cause everything going in some way causes cancer, or is potentially causes cancer. It seems that everything is bad for us these days, and that we have to worry about everything. Brings to mind a favourite song by Lard, The Power of Lard, and this repeated line, avoid everything, avoid everything, avoid everything. The suggestion is that everything is bad for you. It'll kill you in the end. So will life. But I suspected that if anything is going to shorten our lives, it's probably constant worry and anxiety. And if it doesn't shorten the length of our lives, it will certainly make them miserable. It is no way to live. So I'm not going to worry about my plodding on through life. It's my style. I'm quite good at it. Worry can be deeply crippling and life-reducing. Now, of course, we should not dismiss the challenge of life and live like some kind of delusional Pollyanna, but to live in and through worry destroys any joy in life. I remember a few years ago speaking with the Reverend Jill McAllister, who was visiting from the USA. She told me how she worried about her congregants. She worried how she could help them with their crippling anxiety about life. She described them as people of privilege, and yet they were ruled by worry. I have similar concerns about the folk I serve as well as my family and my friends, especially at this time, even more so than normal. I wonder how much of our energy, though, is spent worrying about the people in our lives. Is this the best use of our limited resources? Surely it would be better to put our energy into something more constructive. You know, I spend a lot of my time listening to people, They tell me of their worries and often end their time sharing with their classic line though. After sharing for ages about what they worry, the final thing they say is, "Oh, not to worry," which is of course precisely what they've been doing. That said, I know that by sharing our worries, they do somehow occupy less of the space in our heads. The thing about worry, as Mark Twain observed, most of the things that we worry about never happen. And yet, as we go through our days, the worry machine is there chugging away in our minds, stopping us experiencing this life that we have been given. How many of us worry so much about being on time that we ruin the very journey we take? That's one of mine, by the way. I hate being late. So I worry sometimes I spoil my journeys by worrying about being late. How many of us worry about the weather when we're about to go on holiday, obsess about it for weeks and months? How many of us spend all our time worried and obsessed about how we look, what people will think of us? Will the world come to an end? The political situation we find ourselves in. Worry about our children, what their lives will be like, and a myriad of other things. We waste our time caught up in work. We don't do anything. We just sit and worry. Wouldn't mind if you did something with the worry. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that none of these things are real. Of course, they're real. Surely, though, wouldn't it be better dealing with the things that trouble us as best we can, rather than wasting our days worrying about every little thing? Use the time more constructively. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we waste so much energy on worry? Why are we so afraid of things going wrong? Why do we believe we can stop such things happening, that we can somehow control life? Well, we can't control life. Things will go wrong. And do you know what? That's not always a bad thing. Things work out exactly as I want them to, that might not be the best thing that could happen in life. I don't know what's best for everybody and everything. And I'm very wary of those that think they do. Worry. We're all plagued with it. Even the most gifted amongst us are plagued with worry or by worry. You hear stories of great artists who are constantly beset with worry. I remember, I think it was last year or some time ago anyway, I saw the film Judy, a wonderful biopic depicting the last years of Judy Garland's life. It seems she suffered greatly from stage fright and was consumed by worry about so many things. There's a scene early in the film when she attends a party with her daughter Liza Minnelli. And Liza Minnelli at this point was just beginning to hit great heights in her own career, singing to huge auditoriums. And Judy asks her daughter if she suffered from fear singing in front of these great audiences. Liza Minnelli did not, much to Judy's surprise, for Judy was utterly plagued by worry and stage fright, by what people thought of her. We worry all the time, and actually worry's not wholly bad. It does have its place. We have the capacity to worry for a very good reason, as we anticipate something bad that could happen. And this discomfort and worry spurs us on to avoid the unfortunate something, or at least mitigate against the something that might happen. No doubt it is something that has evolved in humanity to guard against danger and to prepare for troubles ahead. We're mitigating, and isn't that what we're doing at the moment? With the coronavirus, we're mitigating, we're spreading it out so it doesn't peak so much. But we've done it throughout human history. We store food for winter. The problem comes when we go too far with this and become paralysed by worry. It's not the feeling of worry that's the problem, it's the power of worry. Being paralysed by worry. It stops us living. The instinct itself, when in its correct proportion, is a good instinct to have. The key is where we focus our attention. Worry and concern can help us to do positive things, to act in positive ways. Likewise, it can paralyse us too, as our attention becomes purely focused on the worry and not what we can do about the worry. The problem is not so much the worry and concern, but what we focus our attention on and how it leads us to act. For what we focus on our attention on is what really matters. What we do with what we have and how we feel. Throughout the gospel accounts, Jesus is often portrayed as being concerned with what people he is with focused their attention on. Their attention there. He's concerned about that. It matters. It mattered to him. When he said, "Consider the lilies," he was turning their attention on the lilies, to experience the lilies. Likewise, when he said the kingdom of heaven is at hand, he is pinpointing the exact location of where attention ought to be in order to enter the kingdom. Here now. And when he said, "Fear not, judge not, love one another," he's suggesting that the focus ought to move away from images that generate fear and judgment towards ones that are centered purely on love. Focus the attention on love. And this, it would appear, is a solution to being dominated by worry. Worry was as troubling 2,000 years ago just as it is today. People are the same as they have always been. These things don't change. The key, it would seem, is to focus our attention in loving ways in the moment in which we find ourselves, rather than being paralysed by worries of what might be. We cannot escape the trouble of life. Life, by its very nature, is a risky business. It kills us all in the end. It does us no good, though, to waste our days worrying about what might go wrong. Instead, what we need to do is to embrace the risk of life. I'm not saying go involve ourselves in foolish, risky things. No, that's not what I mean. No, what I mean is that we need to give ourselves away to something useful, something beautiful, something life-enhancing. The key is to risk ourselves to the world, to hazard ourselves for the right thing. To quote David White, one of my favourites, in his essay on longing, from his wonderful book, Consolations, the solace, nourishment and underlying meaning of everyday words. To fully quote David a bit more. We are here essentially to risk ourselves in the world. We are a form of invitation to others and to otherness. We are meant to hazard ourselves for the right thing, for the right woman or the right man, for a son or a daughter, for the right work or a gift given against all the odds. And in all this continual risking, the most profound courage may be found in the simple willingness to allow ourselves to be happy along the way. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I just want to repeat that last sentence because it's just gorgeous. In all this continual risking, the most profound courage may be found in the simple willingness to allow ourselves to be happy along the way. Along the way. I said worry then, I meant a lot. I'll say it again. In all this continual risking, the most profound courage may be found in the simple willingness to allow ourselves to be happy along the way. Doesn't sound like a risky business, and yet we worry too much. We can't allow that to happen. Worry can eat away at any chance to be happy in our lives. None of us knows what the future holds. There will be joy, and there will be troubles ahead for us all. Blessings and curses. Despair, hope and joy. But we cannot waste this life worrying about what might be before it ever happens. Surely it is better to risk our lives to some greater love, whatever that love might be. It is love, of course, that leads us to the sense of wholeness and connection with all of life. So I am not saying don't worry, because what would be the point of that? Instead, what I'm saying is turn your worry into concern. Be inspired by this concern and act in the world in loving and more beautiful ways. You never know. You never know. By doing so, you might just allow yourselves to be happy along the way. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I'm going to end today with a few words of blessing. We need to bless more. We can all bless, you know. You don't need permission. You can. You really can. We need to. And you know what? We do so by giving our whole hearts to life. So let's begin today. Let's give our whole hearts to life and become the blessing that this world has been waiting for. Right here, right now. So I offer these final words of blessing. May the Eternal bless and protect you. May the Eternal smile on you, yes, even you, and favour you. May the Eternal befriend you and prosper you. And may we carry the song of the Eternal with us, and may we do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. Amen.